Hello, so it's time for a charity stream. I'm doing another one for that Disabled American Veterans Charity. And yeah, it's, time for another live stream. I did have a poppy on earlier. That's where it's fallen off. Is that sort of relevant? But yeah, let's do a political live stream then. One of the things I rarely like doing, but considering it is the US election today, it's probably quite a good day to do it. So, yeah, unless you've been living under a rock, it's Trump versus Biden for the next 4 years of who's the president. Which is, I think, for a lot of people, picking your poison kind of choice. Obviously I'm not an American, but I'd definitely say I'd vote for Trump if I was in the election. Spooky, I hope Trump will win. I don't actually know. I hope Trump will win because I've got a bet on him. Well, this is a political stream, but it's a charity one. So if anybody donates on this one, it's for a charity. Because I thought, I'd do a charity one just because it's, nice now and again to raise a bit of money for charity. This isn't actually an American helmet I've got on, by the way, for anybody asking. It's the French, whatever they called it, helmet. What's the name of this bloody one? Is it the F1 helmet, or was it the one before the F1 helmet? But basically, it's the Model 51 or something, isn't it? This helmet. It's basically the French M1 ripoff I've got on. But yeah, it's basically just the American helmet, just ever so slightly different than this French one. It's got a really nice liner in it, because I had to buy the liner separately. But this is basically France's ripoff of the M1 helmet, which they claim wasn't a ripoff of the M1 helmet. Thank you very much, Arthur. But yeah, as I said, I wanted to do a charity one, because I thought if we did a dumpster fire of a political stream about a dumpster fire of an election, we might as well raise some charity for it. Oh, the M1 helmet is the proper American one, Christopher, but this is a French ripoff. But I'm pretty sure it's the Model M 1951 helmet. It is. So it's this one, basically, for anybody wondering. Yeah, Marcus, because, US election. But yeah. But yes, so France's ripoff of the M1 helmet. Which they claim wasn't, but it blatantly is looking at it. I'd hope so, Nerd Central, because obviously if I lose my bet, I wouldn't be too happy, but obviously I don't bet money I can't afford to lose. Oh, and thank you very much, Stephen. But yeah, I've I've bet about 20 odd quid on Trump that if I win, gives me over £100 because of the odds against him, which I quite like those odds. But no, the Climax masks, Joshua, are Spanish gas masks. Well, they think there's going to be riots, don't they, regardless of who wins. Which side do we think that is, Sparrow? I'd think it'd be the angry communists, but well, I'm not American for the beginning, for people saying who have I voted for, but I'd have voted for Trump if I was in America, because I generally vote for the one that's less kind of government intervention into people's lives, even though I think Trump's done a disastrous job of handling coronavirus. Yeah, Eric, but they're really, really heavy, the big steel ones. You can get thermoplastic ones like the one I've got back there, but again, the problem is the human body is still kind of a bit squishy. Vermin Supreme, is he like Chad the monster raving loony party kind of equivalent in America? He's like the guy with the massive beard, isn't he? I think I know which would win in that one, Stephen. Not that I want to sound like I'm endorsing political violence, of course, but big old cartridge like this versus squishy people. I think I know which would win. Right, Gopnik Studios, have a good day at school. Hope you're safe and all that with all the corona shit going on. What did Nerd Central say that Marcus deleted? Well, they're already doing it, Nerd Central. Apparently what they're currently accusing me of being is a paedophile because they're so fucking sad. But, blatantly I'm not because nonce is a subhuman. But, Yeah, Mike, I don't know if I'll be up that late. I'll definitely stay up past midnight listening to some of the coverage while playing video games or something, but I don't want to stay up till, really early in the morning, so I actually want to get stuff done tomorrow. But well, with this one, Gordon, I got the really nice rubberized one. Let me show it you. I've done a video on it, but I bought the really nice, like, plastic and rubber one that the French used, rather than just like the generic plastic one. So that's the one that, was designed for vehicle crews, so it works like a hard hat, but then it goes inside the helmet anyway. So you can have it as a, as in New Vegas, Peach. I've been playing a shitload of New Vegas. I've been playing that Taylor 2 Wasteland mods where it's Fallout 3 and New Vegas in the same game. Well, I think extreme left and extreme right ideologies are both pretty shitty if people are saying, like, Antifa versus this, because generally if you want to kill people because they don't agree with you politically, you're an extremist. Let me search New California, if that's a New Vegas mod, as much as we're off topic for the stream. Fallout New California. So it's like a massive proper add-on, is it? I'll bookmark that and play it at some point. Because, yeah, that looks like it'd be pretty interesting. It's to do with the bullet in the cartridge, Eric. It's basically like width and length of the cartridge normally, as in how much propellant is behind the bullet itself. Fallout 76 isn't too bad now, Nerd Central. It's still, like, not really a good game. But in terms of, it's not a bad game. I just had a message as soon as I started streaming, so let me just reply. All right, Sparrow, which site did you bet on to get odds like that? Because when I did it on Paddy Power the other day, the odds weren't that good that £40 would get you, 40 plus states. Oh, I see what you mean, like one of the ones with the multiplier. But yeah, I just did the one for Trump winning because I have no idea about, how many states you'd need plus the electoral college stuff. But yeah, I'm just betting on Trump to win, because the odds aren't in his favor according to the pollsters. So that means you get more money if you put stuff on Trump, and I can afford to lose 20 odd quid, 30 odd quid, whatever I put on him. But if I win, like nearly £150 for winning the bet, well, that will go into the bunker money, So 10 to 1 odds. So what, do you get £500, Sparrow, for that, for a £50 bet? That's pretty damn good. Acid Bat, this is a French Model M1951 helmet, which is a rip-off of the US M1, as much as France claims it isn't. But that's what the helmet actually is. Like betting sites, Don steps inside. So if you go on like betting sites, like in the UK, we've got Paddy Power, like Sparrow was saying, Sky Bet. There's quite a few. You can basically put bets on quite a lot of things. So political things are one of the things I now and again bet on. Yeah, of course you can, as a cat. I mean, it's a political stream, but if people want to talk about video games and something less toxic than the US election, they can do. But don't forget as well, this is a charity stream. So thank you to all the people that have donated already. As far as I'm aware, I don't think I get any money from these, but I know it makes a load for charity normally. So, because I think charity is a good thing to now and again do a stream for. So the one on this one's disabled American veterans. So basically, I think it's a bit similar to, like a lot of the British ones for, injured servicemen and things like that. I think it's just the American equivalent. But thank you, Toga, as well. But yeah, I thought, that was a nice thing to do. As much as this election's very, very toxic, I thought if we made some good come of it from a charity stream, that'd be quite good. But because I don't mind doing politics streams now and again, it's just they normally always cause arguments. But now and again, you'll do a politics stream that's less toxic than a regular stream. So, you never know. No, I don't actually have one, James. I've got a Soviet SSH-40 style helmet, although it's technically a Polish version of it. No, Mike, I don't think you'd be going too far, personally. There's some really good websites, James. I can't think of what they are off the top of my head, but there are really good websites that have like helmet identification guides on them. Like that show all the different markings you get inside so you can establish which country and which factory made them and all the stuff like that. Also, one of the main ways of telling helmets is liners, because quite often, like, the liners inside helmets would be really different depending on, like, factories and country. So even when several countries made, like, the same style helmets, they'd often do quite different liners, like the head harnesses. So, for example, in this French one, it's got the really nice kind of rubberized sort of plasticky liner, whereas, some of the helmets just have a pure plastic liner, that kind of thing. The problem is, Gasmask Boy, I really can't tell you that because I'm not American. Apparently, the Democrats to us would be considered very right wing anyway in the UK and Europe. In all honesty, Eric, probably one of the people that is trying to do all the doxing and stuff like that. I'm trying to think. Nerd Central lighters aren't really military related. Like I said recently, I've got a video coming out on this, but one of the butane jet lighter inserts for the Zippos, because Zippos now make them officially. But I'd say lighters are really the only thing I collect that wouldn't be military considered at all, Nah, Patrick, I love kind of horribly mismatched what would you want to call it? Like, camo patterns and like stuff like that. Because it's not like you're like cutting something up, is it, to stitch something else together if you're just simply, tying one helmet liner on a different helmet. Definitely DPM Delta, especially if you mean like desert DPM versus US cookie one, like the desert cookie. The thing is, the US desert cookie one, I imagine, would work in more places because it's not like yellow desert, is it? It's kind of more like that brown sort of shrubby desert. Well, Toga or Toqua, sorry, however your name's pronounced. I can't see if that's a G or a Q from how YouTube's doing the font. The SAS kick some terrorist SARS. Operation Nimrod's kind of like the most famous, special forces operation ever, or at least amongst the most famous ones. And it's a good example of don't negotiate with terrorists, send your special forces in, kill them all. Cheers, Axel. But, that's how quite a lot of people, I think, want, military and special forces to be used to rescue hostages and kill bad guys, not invading other people's countries, but sorting stuff out when it happens. At some point, Ethan, I will do. It's just getting the motivation to do it because I don't really like doing like top 10 style videos just because to me, they're not really the kind of content I like to make. I know a lot of electoral coverage is about 11 p.m. onwards in the UK, if that helps. So you'd have to look up what 11 p.m. GMT is in US time, but that's when a lot of places are doing their electoral coverage, so where they probably start getting info in. What, the Nixie tube clock? Hype sent to me, yeah, they're lovely, aren't they, Nixie tubes? Cold cathode display tubes, I think is a technical name, but yeah. Nearly always eBay, Gordon. Sometimes I get them from other places, but nearly everything is eBay. Just because there's so much choice on there, and you can buy stuff from all around the world. Well, no, Central. If it's a situation where people might be killed, and hostages have been taken, I just say the terrorists at that point are going to get what they deserve, because I don't think people not deserving action taken against them would take hostages, and stuff like that. That's a shame, Marcus. Yeah, Sparrow, the amount of stuff I've heard where they've been interviewing people like, Trump has ruined America. If Trump wins, I want to destroy my passport because because Biden is like Jesus and Trump is like the devil, or whatever shit they had on. It's like Trump's already been in charge for 4 years, and the last time I checked, he hasn't started a nuclear war that's killed everybody, or built death camps in America. So I really doubt, 4 more years of Trump's going to be that bad. Stephen, you're not blocked. I can see your comment right there, so you're obviously not blocked. I've never actually used them mildly upset. I think they look quite cool, but I think with a lot of camos, again, it depends where you're using them. Because, there's some camos that are really good in some places and useless in others. My favourite Soviet camo is SS Leto, but, What has Trump done, actually, Eric, though, that's racist? Because I'd like to know, because I know people say Trump's racist all the time, but I'm yet to see him actually say something, properly racist. I think, Guardian, there's a lot of stuff that if you did as a US president, you'd technically be violating the Constitution. Wow, Stephen, considering that the Nazi Party was literally called the National Socialist Party, of course they were socialists. But, extreme right and extreme left are also bad. I wouldn't want to live under either. Yeah, I've just got the Cold War French helmet on Pravda. But, yeah, Cold War helmets are probably my favourite generation of helmets. The funny thing, Joseph, though, is the amount of things, with Obama, apparently, Obama doing lots of things about Mexican immigrants, but then people blame Trump for it, apparently, Yeah, the thing that really pisses me off, Rantix, is when you get the people that claim, like, Antifa isn't a thing, or it's, like, not a problem. It's like they're literally kind of anarchists, anarchist terrorists, literally, aren't they? Beat people up because they don't agree with your opinions. As in the British Mark III or Mark IV helmet, Ash. Yeah, they are cool, aren't they? I'd love to get one with the riot visor on, but I've never seen those for sale, at least not for good money. Right, the comments are currently going a bit too fast for me to read. Yeah, Claire, the one I've heard about Biden is like what you said, where he said something like, you ain't black, didn't he, on some sort of interview if you said you voted for Trump, because apparently black people aren't allowed to have the opinion of voting for who they want to vote for. They have to think as a hive mind, according to Biden. The other thing is, didn't he call them super predators or something as well? But the thing is, I'm not all that clued up with all the US stuff because, in the UK, it's not really, stuff we listen to all the time. Yeah, Flazzy, like I said, I knew about that one because that was the one where, again, it's like saying basically you're not allowed an opinion, isn't it? I definitely think there'll be violent Salty Tide. I mean, I hope there isn't, but I think there will be. So, right, the guy spamming the chat I'm getting rid of, because if he's saying I can't find any gas masks on eBay, he's clearly not looking. And we're not on about gas masks really on this stream, are we? But yeah, so like I said, personally, I hope, again, helmets make your hair go funny. Personally, I hope Trump wins just because he posts funny stuff on Twitter. He makes people angry for no reason, which is good for a laugh. And I've got a bet on him, so I'd kind of want to get a load of free money. All right, Murray, I haven't seen you in a while. He says, I got given Argentine M1 Falkland War helmet. It's a bringback. It's very nice. Oh, that's cool. They had what was meant to be an Argentine helmet in one of my local antique shops, but I don't reckon it was because it wasn't like an M1 helmet, one of the other ones the RGs used. It was a I think, like a Soviet block helmet. So I reckon they were just massively overcharging for a Soviet helmet because there was no, authenticity documents to say it was a legit one, like some of those places provide with them. Yeah, but the media will portray it the other way around, won't it, Flazzy? Yeah, I've heard the same thing, Stephen, literally on like the radio and TV, where they're saying like, "Oh, Antifa isn't a thing," despite the fact they were clearly, attacking people and burning down stores and looting in some of the cities. Well, hello, Mark. I'm an American citizen. Marcus got him before I did. Don't think that has much to do with politics, does it? Do you remember all the tears last time, Stephen, where people were literally saying like Trump was going to make death camps because he got in? Well, yeah, I'm sure if you like having constitutional rights, Trump is better. Well, remember, Steve, I think it was not last year, I keep wanting to say last year, but 2016, wasn't it? They said Hillary was like 99%, certain to win. Yeah, well, I think regardless of what happens, Heixler, we're pretty screwed regardless because of coronavirus wrecking the economy. Well, do you think at that point Nerd Central have a similar mental capacity to Biden? Well, exactly, Fuzzy. I know out of global consequences, I'm just saying that, I think we're in a pretty bad situation regardless of what happens. Problem with these streams is the chat just goes too fast to read a lot of it. No, Hikes, I wish I did. I'd love a Shum 2012, but I don't have one. He didn't run that for that long, did he, Monty? Because he didn't get into any like the later things. Did he run as an independent or what? Which party did he run for? Because I know in America, basically, don't you have the Democrats and the Republicans are the only ones who ever get voted in, and is it the Greens and the Libertarians, your other two parties, but they never get anywhere? Because in the UK we have the Conservatives and Labour, and again they're like the only two parties that ever get in. Sometimes the Lib Dems get some seats, but then we have all the other parties, like UKIP, Brexit Party, Greens. I know you get things like SNP up in Scotland, but I'm thinking more about England politics. But the point is, we have a load of parties that never get votes. The same thing. Well, that's so they were called Riley. What his party was called the Birthday Party. That's quite a clever name. The problem is, Dan, if they're the third most popular, but they never have a chance of getting in with how the system works, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's kind of like saying the Lib Dems are the third most popular party in the UK. They're never going to get in on the majority. The only good thing Sparrow recently with stuff like that was apparently there's lots of MPs now calling for us to have a proper constitution due to the fact that, there's all the government stuff at the moment where the government keeps trying to overrule, like stuff with constitutional rights due to corona lockdowns. Cheers, Alex, for donating to a charity. The helmet, General Plompy, is a French Model M1951 helmet, which is totally not a rip-off of the US M1 helmet. It's the French rip-off of the US M1 helmet, basically. But you can get them in Europe fairly cheaply. So they're quite good helmets for just getting, as kind of a standard M1 helmet over here. When you say American State Guard, do you mean the National Guard, Patrick? We have the Territorial Army over here, but they're not really exactly the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it'd be good, Sparrow, wouldn't it, having a proper constitution? Because I know we have the Bill of Rights, but that's pretty much ignored and very outdated. Guardian, the thing is, I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between libertarian and what Americans call liberals, which, the American definition of a liberal, from what I understand, is a socialist or communist, not actually somebody who's actually classically liberal. Again, it's the problem of different things meaning different things to different people. A very outdated one, Steve, that isn't really, not much is considered with it anymore. Oh, thank you very much, Dark Owl. Because, yeah, $20 is quite a nice donation to a charity. Yeah. Does it say how much money it's raised for charity so far this stream? Because the only problem is with the YouTube interface, it doesn't actually show me so far. But I imagine it's $30+ so far, isn't it? Well, $140. Wow, $120 to $140 so far. I didn't see a load of those donations come in, but that's really amazing. So thank you, everybody that's donated. I said I don't get any of that. It's just the charity ones. But from what I understand, 100% of it goes to the charity you pick. And I've just done that Disabled American Veterans one again, because it's kind of, related to all the stuff like, Remembrance Day sort of things. And I thought, let's pick something that isn't toxic, because I think you'd have to be pretty scummy to say, oh, I hate disabled, war veterans. Oh, I see, Mike. So yeah, because it was $100, wasn't it, or so on the last stream. So yeah, that makes sense. Right, what's in the tape exactly, Monty? Because I know there was some porn released of his son, wasn't there? This might get a bit dodgy to talk about on YouTube, but from what I understand, there's been some dodgy business contracts. But obviously, I don't want to get sued or anything, so I'll just say allegedly. I don't really know. But I know there was all the stuff, wasn't there, recently about social media companies censoring people talking about some of the Biden stuff, which is very kind of politically dodgy. Cheers, Boogaloo, for the donation. I mean, it doesn't go to me anyway, but... So yeah, again, they like to constantly say bad things about Trump, don't they? But when it's related to the opposition, it's censored. Again, certainly makes me question how free a lot of the media is. Well, I'd hope Trump. Biden might win, but I hope Trump wins, especially because I've got a bet on Trump. See, I'm being perfectly honest there. I've got a bet on Trump. That's why it's better that Trump wins. Oh, and cheers, Dan, as well, for donating to charity. As I said, I like doing these now and again, the charity streams, just because it kind of gives you, a good feeling that you're doing stuff to help people. When I did it, because again, the odds change quite a lot, GZ Deuce, but last time I checked, the odds against Trump were like probably about 7-1 or something. But different sites have different odds. But, Biden was pretty, they were pretty confident on Biden on most of these sites. So every pound you bet on Biden, you probably only get an extra 20p winnings. What's speed softing? Is it like airsoft? I've been airsofting. Ah, that's good. So the odds are better for Trump than when I place my bet. That's very good, because it means that, if Trump wins, I get more money than if I put a new bet on Trump now. It'd probably be quite hard to get it Salty Tide. I mean, in theory, they'll turn up on eBay and other sites like that. But the Russians use quite a few different helmets at the moment. Depends if you mean like standard infantry helmets, some of the more like expensive helmets they have, police helmets, anti-terror sort of helmets. Okay, I've never heard of it over here, Speedsoft. I mean, there might be places that do it, but bear in mind my closest airsoft site is like nearly 30 miles away. The one I placed, Heixler, was 20 something pounds, probably close to 30. So it was like 27 or 28, because it showed you, if you put this much in, this is what you'll win. And I did it to give me around 130 quid. So however many times 25 to 30 pounds goes into 130, that was what the odds were. It's been a bit better today, thanks Nerd Central. Because with ulcerative colitis, I can have a few days in a row where it's bad and a few days, or hopefully longer in a row where it's better. The only problem I've got now is I've got a really swollen gland in the back of my neck, in the lymph nodes. So that means I've probably got some sort of ear infection or cut on my head that's become infected. Not like a serious infection, but enough that it's sore and annoying. Or a fair bit towards the bunker. So yeah, the idea is, like I was saying, that because I certainly wouldn't want to bet, loads of money that you couldn't really afford to do. But I thought put a little bet on Trump, if he wins, that's quite a lot of money. If not, oh well. But well, I don't know if I've done it more than anybody else in the world, Claire, but I'm glad that people find the videos useful. As I've said, provider, I'm buying one that already exists when I have the money together and I find one for sale. I'm not like building one myself. I'm buying an ROC bunker that ends up coming for sale or something very similar to an ROC bunker. It's not bad, JJ, considering what the price of masks are at the moment. Like, you used to sometimes be able to get an S6 with all the gear for like £40. But those days have long gone. So yeah, £60 is quite good for one at the moment. Especially if it's in good condition, because an S6 in good condition will still work because it's a 40mm mask. Thank you very much, Steve Wood. That's really nice of you, because as I said, that goes to a charity, not to me. Cheers, Slimtol. They do come up for sale quite often in the UK. Oh, and thank you very much as well, James. But yeah, they do come up now and again in the UK, but they're called ROC bunkers for those of you that don't know. Let me get my little picture of an ROC bunker so I can show you what they are. I bought a framed picture of one, like a little diagram. So whenever people ask about the bunkers, I can show a picture. Right, if that focuses, if I make it full screen, it'll focus. Hang on. Hopefully. Maybe. Is it going to focus? There we go. So one of those, an ROC bunker. You can get them in like different levels of how damaged they are, water damaged, how much land comes with them. Well, you could do, because see where the Geiger counter port is, or the ionization port there, you can run an aerial cable down there to like a 4 or 5G mast and get mobile internet. Oh, cheers, Planet Zog, and cheers, Anonymous. There's loads of people donating tonight to charity. That's really nice. But yeah, basically ROC bunkers are really cool. There's sadly nowhere near as many of them now that there used to be, because basically what happened was in the 90s, that was when the RAF or whatever sold them all off privately. Because what happened, obviously, when the Cold War ended is, the bunkers weren't needed anymore. So what ended up happening, they were all sold off, or nearly all of them were sold off, often to landowners, and then they got sold off. But sadly, some of them have been filled in with concrete or filled in with earth or just been, vandalized or deteriorated so much that they're useless. But, now and again, they come up for sale where somebody who privately owns them doesn't want them anymore and would rather have the money. And then you can get them, so you get a little bit of land and a fallout shelter, which is... I've noticed sometimes, Heixler, they're at least decent enough not to come on charity streams. That's not always the case because sometimes they do disrupt charity streams, But to be honest, there's been a couple of people I think blocked so far for making really weird comments, but so far there's not been any on. Maybe they've got something else to do tonight. My favourite gas mask is the Avon CT12. My favourite helmet is the British copy of the ECH, or licensed copy of the ECH, called the Virtus Battle Skin Cobra Revision 2 helmet, like some long bollocks name. But there is Rumbo, but obviously a lot of them on the original maps aren't there anymore. Like, you can find a map that has like the 1,500 plus on that were, around as of the 1970s or whatever. But obviously what happened as time went on is, not all of them are around, and some are just on private land where, there'd be no way of knowing what condition they're in unless the person who owned the land let you look at them. That's cool, Murray. Yeah, obviously the ROC bunkers are a lot sturdier than Anderson shelter because they were like properly government built ones. My favourite Geiger counter is probably, I'd say at the moment, the IMD5. There's a video coming out on that on Wednesday and Friday. Potentially there might be like wars in Europe, but I'd hope not. But yeah, Monty. But would a regular person ever get to use that land? Because I could imagine it would be something that you could buy as a gimmick, but have no actual use in it. In the UK, we never get the missile silos for sale because, for the most part, we had most of our like ICBM capability from submarines, as in Trident and Polaris. I know they get like the Titan and like Minuteman silos for sale in the US, but I have no clue what they cost. Yeah, they upgraded it today, didn't they, Murray? Because there was because of the terrorist attacks recently in like France and Austria and that. The thing is, Claire, ROC posts are like properly built. The problem is planning permission. Again, you have to keep going back to that because if you buy land, you're not necessarily going to be allowed to dig up the earth and build on it. I know people say, "Oh, you could just not get the planning permission and do it," but yeah, then your stuff you've built could literally be bulldozed if the council finds it and objects. You can find the exact dimensions online, and bear in mind not all of them are built to a uniform size, but for the most part, the length of this room, which isn't going to help because I'm just sort of doing it off my head, but a bit wider than this room, plus the toilet room. But again, if you own land, you can just put a razor wire fence up around it, and then somebody would be a bit of an idiot to try and break in and vandalise it, wouldn't they? To live in. As I've said before, JJ, obviously you'd have to check with the one you're buying, depending on the land rights. If you can legally do a lot of the things, with it. But yeah, Slim Time. I think the good example of that, I know it's not with Google Maps, is Dryden, isn't it? That's the person I always bring up when people say like, "Oh, why can't you just build a house illegally?" Right. Normally they had chemical toilets, JJ, so you have to retrofit plumbing into them if you want plumbing. Ooh, how big are the Rotor ones? As in the ones bigger than RO City Post but smaller than the regional government ones? And where are they sold, Droutman? Because I'd be very interested in that, assuming that one comes up when I've got the money in my budget range. Because I suppose it's going to depend on condition, where the land is and everything else, isn't it? Yeah, but you can upgrade, you can retrofit, Claire. You can retrofit the filtering, but I don't want it as a nuclear bunker. I want it literally as, just the fact that it's way, way, way cheaper than buying a bedsit. I'd rather not this whole stream get deflected into ROC posts. I'd rather talk about Trump if we want to talk about Trump. But the point is, it depends what you want it for, and for me, it's just more as a kind of historical curiosity. Stephen, has it got the hatches down, and is it just driving forwards? I don't know what you mean by an M50 Shellon. Do you mean an Avon M50? Or do you mean a Shallon as in an Israeli gas mask? Yeah, but maybe people just wanted to vote for Monty as like a protest vote. Like when people vote for the Monster Raving Loony Party. Sadly, Dark Owl, there weren't that many. There were generally, like in World War One and World War Two, there were dog masks and horse masks. That's about it, as far as I'm aware. I did see Electric Messiah. There's loads and loads of gun sales at the moment, isn't there? If you mean Israeli Shallon, do you mean the M15 or the 4A1? M15, that's a totally different mask. If it's an M15 without a drinking tube, I don't know. Have I been in America? I assume you mean have I been to America? Because being in America sounds a bit sexy. But if you mean being to America, sadly not. I'm medically unfit even if I wanted to, Monty. Not very many, sadly, Chadiversity. I'm sure there are some which are ones as in, like, they like the idea of hunting shotguns and shooting pheasants, but not really as in proper, like, Second Amendment style ones. Well, at the moment, Agent Mumble Studios, hundreds of pounds probably, because sadly they used to be like 30 to 50 pounds sterling. Now they're just silly due to Corona and everything else. See, something like 80,000 would be doable, I reckon. Like, obviously not anytime soon, but say in 5 years' time, I could get one of those, no problem. But, for the most part, I wanted just an ROC bunker just because of how cheap they are. I know we're going off tangent again now, but it's just the idea that, you can physically own something. So if you need to, you've got a roof over your head, even if it's a slightly damp one, and everything else. Again, we're going really off the thing of UK politics, but a Rotor bunker would be bloody cool. Don't get me wrong. A regional government style one, proper Bond villain there. Yeah, that's really sad, Howie. I mean, yeah, because like I said, I'm asthmatic, I'm autistic, I've got ulcerative colitis, I've got a couple of other kind of very minor health conditions, which I think technically make lists now. There's so many bloody things, though, that, people who seem really fit and healthy for the most part can get disqualified for now. No, Monty has said it's when I've got the money together, seeing what pops up. Because there's some which sell, like every now and again, the same ones seem to sell, where somebody, I guess, buys it, realizes that they don't really want it, and then they sell it off again. But for the most part, there's not any ROC bunkers really close to me, because most of the ones in Oxford, sadly, have been bulldozed due to the price of land. Filled in, filled in with concrete and whatever else to be built on top of. But for the most part, it's just when I've got the money together, for one, just when one pops up that looks like it's in a particularly nice place of the land or whatever, just getting it. Yeah, Sean, I've heard that. Eczema and acne. It's like, how does that affect your ability to fight in a war? The fact you've got a slightly spotty face, but thank you very much, Murray, as well. Yes, Borat too, very nice. Yeah, I enjoyed Borat too. I've never had acne, not acme. Acme's a company, isn't it? I said I've not really had much acne, thankfully, but with eczema, I've never had eczema get infected. It can get a bit sore, but I've never had it get infected because it's kind of already inflamed. So it's pretty hard for, I suppose, bacteria to get in something that's already, swollen and your body's attacking it. Yeah, Daniel. I'm on the cheaper drink tonight. All my toffee apple cider was delivered this morning, actually, so I've got that in the fridge. But I'm just not having any as of now because I wanted a lower percent drink just for concentrating on the stream. Yes, that's beer. It's not very good beer, but it is beer. That's right, Vampire. I said I've not done any donations myself on this, but a massive thank you to all the people that have, because, you know, it's good when you know, it's good when you raise a bit of money for charity, even if you're sort of doing it indirectly. Well, it was in a bit like a slush puppy thing, Daniel. But which one, JJ? Because there's the one in the film, isn't there, about Obama? But obviously his famous one is "Throw them down the whale, so my country can be free." You know that one. But yeah, anyway, this chat's moving a bit fast again to keep up with. Jackman, this isn't you know, this isn't my choice of beer. It's just cheap in crates. Oh yeah, that one, JJ. Yeah, I know. I might watch Borat 2 again, even though I only watched it like a week ago. Yeah. Yes, I like rum. I generally like kind of spiced rum, you know, like dark rum or spiced rum. I hate white rum, but spiced rum I quite like the 30 to 40% spiced rum. Yeah, that's the thing, James, is like Biden. I feel kind of sad for Biden because it kind of feels like, you know, elderly abuse. I don't mean like I'm joking. I mean, honestly, it's like it kind of feels like he's being used kind of, you know, like just shoved around to, you know. You can get stab vests on Amazon and eBay and places like Prepper Shop if you don't want to buy like a brand new one for full price. I know, but Trump's got a fair bit more energy, hasn't he, than Biden? Yeah, I know. I've got Unique Property Bulletin bookmarks. There was a really nice one that came up, wasn't there, in Norfolk? In about a month or two, if any come up on there for that sort of price, I should be able to get them. But obviously, the problem was when the last one came up, I didn't have the money together then. All right, Mike, if you do stream and I'm about, I'll watch it. But as I said, I might just be listening to like LBC's political coverage of the election while playing Fallout or something. Well, people are allowed to criticize Islam. You know, I know there's people that would take the opinion that you're not allowed to criticize a religion, but surely as adults, we should be allowed to criticize religion. The thing is, I personally think it's really immature, right, to draw a picture of Muhammad just to try and piss people off, right? But at the same time, killing people over a fucking cartoon is fucking stupid. Does that sum up my opinion on it? I think that should sum it up pretty, you know, wow. I wouldn't offend people on purpose, but if you kill people over a cartoon, you're the biggest baby I've ever seen. Oh, and thank you very much, Braden, for the donation. What's the donations at now? Because I know it started off about $100, didn't it, today? Because Mike said it counts it from the previous stream. But yeah, I think what might be happening, Droutner, if I'm pronouncing your name right, is I'm sort of hoping, not in a malicious way, but I'm sort of hoping with Corona, you know, people losing their jobs and winter coming up, so it's going to be wet and damp. People that have ROC posts but might not do anything with them might actually just want to sell them off to get some extra money, which is perfect for people who actually want them to restore them. You know, that's excellent, Mike. Yes, $114 for charity tonight. So as toxic as the US election might be, we've raised $114 for disabled American veterans, you know, and raising money for disabled servicemen, I think, is always a good thing, or service women, you know. I definitely think there's going to be riots, regardless of who wins and who loses, or people just rioting for the sake of rioting, you know, even who don't have an opinion on the politics, just saying, here's an excuse for me to loot shit, you know. I'm sure there's some charities, Monty, which are slightly dodgy. One of the sites I like, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a site in the UK where you can look up UK charities and you can see for however much donated, what percent actually goes to the charity and like what's taken off as administrative costs. Because that's a good site, because there's some charities where only like 60% of your donation actually goes to the charity. The Flecktarn thing, you're probably looking at the helmet cover. The Flecktarn German helmet cover. I've put a Freedom badge on it, but it's the reversible Flecktarn cover. You know, like the winter one on one side, the regular like woodland one on the other. That has a drawstring. It fits most helmets because it's a drawstring kind of big helmet thing. Oh, and again, massive thank you as well, Braden. What did you lose it to, Peach? Don't say if you don't want to, but what did you lose it to? Oh, cool, Braden. You got a Y2K. Do you like it? I like Y2Ks. They're good, simple masks, aren't they? Well, I'm sure it wasn't it. I was just wondering if you were saying which particular model, it was. Oh, it's a lovely pattern, isn't it, Flecktarn? I think it's just really aesthetic. I prefer the brighter coloured Flecktarn, but it's just a really effective camo pattern if you've got it in strong enough contrasting colours. And again, there's different variants of Flecktarns different nations have done, in different colour patterns. But in general, having like a circle splodge pattern with, like red browns, greens and sort of, different shades of greens or greys works really well just as a camo pattern. I think my favourite Flecktarny looking camo, it's not pure Flecktarn, it's Finish MO5. Let me get a picture of that one up. But that's a camo I don't actually have because most of the surplus of it is really expensive. It's not like, completely Flecktarny, but it's very, very similar to, Flecktarn. But yeah, let me get a picture of it up of a guy wearing it because it is a really effective camo. So there you go. There's a picture of Finish MO5 camo. Have a look at that. Look how good a camo that is. But again, it's very similar to Flecktarn. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of a similar colour palette. It's a bit, kind of like Flecktarn meets Cadpat, I suppose. But in general, it's just a really good camo pattern, I reckon. If you want an up-close picture of what it looks like, here's a picture of it. But again, it's stupidly expensive for what it is, buying it as surplus. I wouldn't pay that sort of money for it. But yeah, there you go. That's Finish MO5 camo. So again, it's kind of Flecktarny, I'd say in a way. But I'd say it's one of the best camos I've seen for European woodland use when you see photos of people actually wearing it. Even if, they're not particularly in a hiding sort of stance, it does seem to just blend in very well with tree lines. Yeah, well, the thing is, this was the idea of this stream was we'd talk about the US election, but we'd have a good cause from it, because I was expecting it to turn into a dumpster fire, thankfully, and it hasn't, but, Yeah, exactly. It's one of those camos I wish that either a third-party company just did a rip-off of, or, more of it hits the surplus market at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of camos which are like that. Like Rhodesian Brushstroke is actually a really, really good camo when you see people using the reproductions of it in actual use. All right, here's a picture actually that's quite interesting of Canadian Cadpat pattern and Finish MO5s both being like laid on a forest floor. There you go. So that's quite interesting. So the Finnish one's the top one, the slightly darker one's Cadpat. So I suppose it's closer to Cadpat, isn't it, than anything else? But both are bloody good camos. But again, Cadpat's really annoying because the Canadian government's like, oh, we can't surplus stuff, we have to destroy it. Yeah, I mean, there's lots. It's personal preference, I think, a lot of camo, but there's lots of really good camo patterns, aren't there? Again, here's a good picture in this page where it's like a guy doing camo tests. It's like where they've obviously stretched both of the camos over some tree branches, and both of those as a net are really hard to see, aren't they, when you get a bit of a distance away? You could have a shelter of both of those camos on, I reckon, in the woods, and it'd be really hard to see. Again, I know it sometimes depends on how the light falls on it, but yeah, I mean, MTP is just a useful all-round camo. The idea of MTP is obviously, I've got the older 95 DPMs on today just as a general kind of wear around the house camo because they're cheap, you know, they've got big pockets. Right, Lennon Tom, for me, not really, because I've used a few smaller backpacks, but for the bigger ones, the current British Army Burgons look pretty good, but they've always been quite expensive. No, it definitely doesn't braid, and the filters in the Y2K were made out of like foam and papery stuff. I don't have my Y2K behind me because my dad actually uses one of my Y2Ks at the moment every now and again when he goes out. But yeah, from what I understand, the Y2Ks were kind of like a combination of foam and papery type material. Because they were made to kind of like a different style than the standard filters, they were always safe kind of regardless of when they came. The modern ones are just like proper HEPA material. I think, Claire, it would depend where it's being used though, wouldn't it? Like, again, if it was in the summer and it was quite a dry summer, MTP would work better. But yeah, for a lot of the year, 95 DPM is going to work better. Especially, I would say, winter and spring and probably most of autumn. Because the browns and the greens are going to be much more standard with kind of mossy, muddy sort of woodland and fields. But yeah, I found MTP works pretty well if you're, like we say, in dry summer, or you've got like stuff with like reed beds and that sort of thing, more like marshy stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I would say obviously standard woodland camos like that are the style camos you're going to want for most Western European countries, you know, because it's kind of the camos we designed for those sort of nations. I'm hoping Trump will win because I've got a bet on him. That's the main reason. Other reason is that he's quite funny with the stuff he tweets. Nonad Central, UK had the kind of olive drab khaki stuff or khaki stuff for most of World War II. Later on, they had brushstroke, which is a really cool one. Let me get you up brushstroke camo. British World War II brushstroke. Here's a picture. Let me get it up. Right. Let me type in Britain because I want to get the ones that are actually the British style ones up rather than. There you go. Have a look at that. That was the closest Britain came to like a uniform camo pattern in World War II. Brushstroke. It's the one like the Rhodesian ones and all the others are based off of. If you search Denison's, uniform, in general, it was like green and 3 different shades of brown, those sort of smocks. But for the most part, Britain just issued, essentially like brown-green uniforms. The MTP, the modern tanks, the modern main battle tanks would wreck the MASH because obviously modern tanks have much better guns in terms of velocity and shells for them, much better armor. Bear in mind, by the 1950s, I think pretty much any standard 1950s tank would completely destroy a Tiger 1 or Tiger 2. Because obviously, if you think about it, stuff like the Centurion, the T-55, all of those had much better armor and guns than the Tigers had. Tank technology did move really fast. Who's violating what? Sorry, I'm very confused. I have no idea what people are on about. Yeah, Levi or Levy. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but yeah, I've had that offer from loads of people in the States. I would love to go at some point. I mean, I'd hope once all the Corona nightmare is finished, travel might be reliable and possible, where you could book a holiday and actually go. And I really do want to go to the States and go shooting. Oh, put somebody doing clickbait, was it? What's my favorite tank? Well, I'm going to, like I say, I'm pretty boring because I always say the Challenger too. But if you want to say different time periods, then my opinions might get a bit more interesting. Like in World War II, the King Tiger's one of the coolest tanks, but not really the most reliable. In all honesty, the American late model Shermans were probably the best tanks of World War II in terms of just being, fairly reliable, well-built tanks that were all around good. In early Cold War, probably Centurions or T-54s. Later Cold War, I really like T-72, certain model of Chieftains, some of the American patterns. There's so many nice tanks from different nations, but yeah. Yeah, well, the interesting thing of the Shermans is actually the Shermans had a gyroscopic stabilizer, didn't they, on the later models, but crews were barely taught how to use them. So they would have had an even better kill-death ratio if the crews were taught about how the stabilizer worked. Isn't with Red Dawn, wasn't that one of the ones where they mocked up one of the fake tanks? The CIA wanted to know how they got a real tank, and they hadn't. But it was a mock-up tank, but they'd done a good job of it. Well, Levi, what I was going to say, first of all, wait till Corona's over, because even if I had the money to book a holiday at the moment, which I technically could, international flights, I think, are banned from the UK under our new lockdown laws. Like, you're not allowed to go on holiday full stop. And then at the moment, so many holidays and all that get cancelled because of Corona restrictions constantly changing. So if we hope that some point next year there's a vaccine, that might be when I can eventually book a holiday and go, And I think everybody would deserve a holiday after the Corona stuff. But at the moment, it's completely pointless actually just trying to book a holiday because so many of them are getting cancelled and people are losing money, because of all the restrictions all around the world, and who knows what will happen if, the US election, if that will affect it and whatever. But yeah, again, that's the reason the COVIDiots, we have to keep going back into stuff, isn't it? Yeah, the Germans had lots of cool equipment, Ash. It was a shame that the ideology was really evil, but they had lots of cool equipment. I think it's the universities are probably even worse than the schools, to be honest, because it's not like the students are going to be doing social distancing, is it, when they're spreading fluids and going to parties, to put it that way. But yeah, I know so many people at the moment who had holidays booked that have been cancelled and all that. What, the game was rigged from the start, Joe Mama, or something else? Right, Levi, I really hope he does win because I've got a bet on Trump that's going to give me about 130 to 150 pounds if he win based on the odds on when I put the bet on Trump. So if he does, that's money straight into my bunker, and I will be very pleased. And I think it'd be much better for UK-US relationships if Trump wins, because Trump actually seems to want to have good deals with the UK, where the Democrats have already been saying, no, Britain's going to get a bad deal because we're leaving the EU, and that's bad. Yeah, that was the thing, Braden. There's like a remake of that, isn't there? You can see it at a museum, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. They built a reactor but didn't have enough materials to make the reactor work, so it was kind of pointless. Well, but then it's picking the lesser of two evils, isn't it, Mr. Slavinator? At least you got your money back, Murray. But yeah, I know a few people that have lost money through holidays recently, just due to how they booked them. It was quite lucky that my dad and I hadn't booked the Chernobyl one because we kept looking for different tour operators and couldn't quite get something lined up. But if we'd have booked that, we'd have definitely lost some of the money, if not all of it, from that. When all the different lockdown stuff came in. I've done videos on cleaning Soviet gas masks. Just watch those. I did see the thing at Norway when they blew it up, when I was in Norway, about the heavy water, Norwegian commandos blowing it up. Well, Jack, whatever's legal in your country, and if you're American, you'd have to ask the Americans because I don't know the prices of different guns in America. But I suppose if you're in America, you'd probably want something like a Ruger 1022 or similar, wouldn't you, to cheaply train your plinking skills, and then move on to an AR-15 or an AK platform or whatever for proper use. But I suppose a good shotgun is probably good for defense, isn't it, in most states? Because I know there's a good Paul Harrell video on why like shotguns are really versatile. Just because if you've not got a massive budget, you can get a pump shotgun that can be used for multiple things, you know. And then you can alternate between slugs and different types of shot depending on what you want to use your shotgun for. You know, like slugs for hitting something far away, buckshot for relatively like close to medium range, you know, bird shot if you actually wanted to take it bird hunting. And again, yes, state laws, different countries' laws, everything like that. That's a pretty cool A-truck camper. I hope that's somewhere where it's completely legal for you to have it, because obviously be careful what you say online. But anyway, have a good evening, everybody. I'm glad we raised a load of money to charity. A massive thank you to anybody that donated. Obviously, none of that goes to me. If you donated to charity, that goes to the Disabled American Veterans one. But, you know, I thought with it being election, let's do another charity stream. It's been quite a good fun chat tonight. We barely had any trolls on, you know. I was expecting with a charity stream, they'd be completely trying to derail it because they're such sad idiots, but, you know. But anyway, have a good evening, everybody. And I will be staying up not until the really early morning hours, but I will certainly be listening a bit to the radio, or if Mike does a stream, some of that, you know, playing Fallout or something. And good luck to Trump, and to all our friends in America. You know, you stay safe, especially if shit goes down with people not being very happy about the results of a democratic process. But you all have a good evening, and, you know, stay safe.